Have you ever heard of indigo children?
No, I probably heard of it, and it's probably like, how are you doing? I'd relate it to some hippie thing.
A hippie thing?
Indigo children.
Yes.
Sounds hippie.
Well, Ruby, have you ever heard of indigo children?
I've heard of Indigo Girls.
Indigo Girls, yes.
Pretty good band.
What's an indigo?
Indigo.
Indigo child?
Yeah.
I have no idea. You?
I've never heard of it.
I have no idea what an indigo child is.
I see kind of like a more of an awareness among younger people, depending on where they're from, where they come from, their backgrounds mainly.
My daughter, who's 8, told me she waited a long time to come to Earth to have me as a parent, like she had a mission. So.
What's her mission? Did she say?
She hasn't said yet, but she seems to be really wise and really all-knowing and old soul. Maybe she's an indigo child.
The blessed gift a child brings, the veils will open when the angel sings. The blessed gift a child brings, the veils will open when the angel sings. And the arms of the earth are open wide, receiving the blessing from inside. The womb of the earth, miracle of birth. Womb of the earth, miracle of birth. Brought here from the earth and sky, an angel of light come here to try to remind us of the simple bliss that lies within our mother's kiss. And the arms of the earth are open wide, receiving the blessing from inside. The womb of the earth, miracle of birth. Womb of the earth, miracle of birth. The womb of the earth, miracle of birth. The womb of the earth, miracle of birth.
To me, the definition of an indigo is someone who's highly sensitive with a warrior personality. A warrior personality means it's someone who's here to lead and to take charge.
For a long time now, since the 70s, 80s, clairvoyants and psychics have been able to see the color indigo in the biofields, the auric fields, of mainly children. Why children? Because it's the vitality of children. It's their life force that renders these colors more visible.
I've always seen those souls who are identified as indigos as having this indigo color in their beingness. As I see the soul, they look like a brilliant star in a midnight sky, and around the clarity of that white light that they are, is this circle of indigo light.
Well, it's a beautiful mythology. Mm-hmm. It's a way to put in words something that is happening. Mm-hmm. And indigo is a beautiful color, but it's just a color. Mm-hmm. What really means is that humans start shifting.
Mm-hmm. These are children with an extraordinarily different sense of things, a larger sense of things. Indigo children, to me, are children who have an expanded awareness, dramatically expanded awareness of everything around them, things seen and unseen.
They have a very deep spiritual base, not religious base, spiritual. If you talk to them, I don't care how they have been raised, they have a sense of knowing that there is a greater power. There is more than what we see.
They are also great healers. You know, they have the purest heart that you could find. I've dealt with a lot of them, and that's what I found them to be.
人間は神の子でありますから、神の摂理、神の教えを忘れないでいる、あるいは生まれてきた子供たち。
For a while, I was kind of confused because I would feel things and I would think things that I thought no one else thought, and so I didn't always express myself the way I do now and talk about things like this openly. But I'm definitely accepting and thankful that I am what I am.
Well, certainly indigos know that they are different from most other people. There are traits that most, if not all, indigos have in common.
These kids were coming in, or young adults, already questioning what they were told by their schools or the principals or their pediatricians or even sometimes psychiatrists.
They are seen to be children who are born with special perception or special wisdom or special compassion. For me, all children are indigo children.
I wouldn't, just want to be, certain people be singled out, called an indigo, because everybody is. They're just, some people have realized it and some haven't. Indigo is just a name for people who have realized it, really, and do special things that people think are amazing, but everybody can do it if they just believe that they can.
When I was 4, I had many visions of meeting God, meeting new people, and my inspiration is God. And when I draw, the first time that I drew, I thought that everything could do the same thing. But as I grew a little older, I knew that God gave me this gift to share with others too. So when I started drawing, God gave me more ideas that I don't even know. I don't even know what the meaning is. Like the pyramids, I really don't even know that meaning. Some paintings are even more harder and harder to think of and know that meaning. So when I started getting a little older, I started knowing that this is God. This is totally God. He's helping me with my art. He's helping me with my poetry, my life to live, other people's life. He's taking care of me like I was a little butterfly, and he's just a little human, just covering it, just making I'm safe. I like him. He's everything that I have, and when I think of that, I feel like a really good feeling that he's in every poem that I write, in every painting that I paint. Each time when I paint the eyes, I like the eyes because I like to paint their whole life in their eyes. Sometimes do this people even inside their eyes, little people. You don't think. You don't just, for example, you dream of something and you just see stuff inside your dream and you just see it. It's like exactly like writing it and seeing it at the same time. I know it's God. I really know it. And sometimes I just feel like God gave me this gift to me. Why not others? Because sometimes I'm a little frustrated because I don't get that right thing, like the right word or the right position. So I'm frustrated. But when I just start talking to God, I just go away and I start talking to him. When I start talking to him, he just calms me down right away. He just says that everything's going to be okay. And then when I just know that feeling, I just know that it's real. Everything's happening and other people could have that feeling too. I started having this feeling of writing something down about the painting that I was sketching. So I was thinking of something, but I didn't need to think. I was just writing effortlessly. And when I started writing and I showed it to my mom, she says, what is these words coming from? And I said, it's from God. Then I just showed I used to go to school at that time, so I showed it to my art class. It's like show and tell, and all the students were like this, oh my gosh, did you write that? And I thought everybody could write the same thing as I. When I started getting a little older, I understood that God gave me this gift to share with others, to teach others what He gave me. The day I was born, I met myself. The day I was born, I met my young mother. The day I was born, I met Christ sleeping in my cradle.
It's not the indigo children, it's not the crystal children or the rainbow children, it's the children of today. So when you start to categorize, we are again putting labels on something.
We're a society that loves labels, and it wants to compartmentalize, and humans kind of do it by nature. We like to put things into their place and have everything have its little perfect place where it's supposed to be. But in the process of saying that there's a separate phenomenon of indigos, indigo children, or crystal children, or whatever it happens to be, we forget that every human being that's brought on this planet has a gift. They're all gifted. We're all gifted. We all have something special about us.
I would try not to use any terminology whatsoever. I would try very, very much not to do any labeling. But since this is a world that uses verbal communication, I would try to use as few words as possible. I would use the one word, developed. They have a development that is different than other people, other individuals.
Say you're an indigo, and somebody comes up to you and asks you a question of something. Say it's your mom or dad. They come up to you, ask you something, or your friend or anything. They come up and ask you something about their life that you don't know about, and you could tell them what it was and how it happened and everything like that. And then they just look at you and say, "You're freaky," or something like that.
I honor that there are children who are very special. However, I have not met one yet that is not or does not have the capability of becoming very special.
I'd like to believe that our whole society, our whole world, is evolving together. Some may be a little faster than others, but hopefully everyone is evolving together as human beings.
I think the dangers of labeling indigo children as one thing or another is that we'll start believing the labels, and we will sidestep the authentic experience that's right in front of us, or we will adjust our experience of what's actually going on in order to fit it into our preconceived notion of what the label suggests it ought to be.
Putting the label indigo, on somebody kind of is almost, or was for me, almost intimidating to live up to. Because, you hear all this stuff like, wow, so if I'm indigo, does that mean I can never wake up and have a bad morning? Does that mean I can never, never have it get into a bad mood? So I think the label might be a little limiting sometimes, but once I realize, wait a second, we're just kids who want to make the world a better place.
One day, we will do away with the labels and we will just call them children. We will call them humans. But for now, I think it is important to have labels, because if we don't label them, other people will. They're already being labeled. They're being labeled dyslexic, autistic, disruptive, troublesome, ADHD, ADD, problem children. And I think that if we don't create a different kind of label for them, then mainstream society will.
When Joshua was about 3, we'd just arrived in New Zealand, and we were on a bit of a road trip around, looking around the country. He and I were driving around one day. I think we were looking for a beach to go skip stones on or something, and we were just quiet. I was sort of drifting along, not really saying anything, and all of a sudden, just out of the blue, Joshy said, "Hey, Dad, who was Michelangelo?" And I just kind of thought about it for a sec. I said, "Well, he was an artist, buddy." And he thought about it for a minute, and he said, oh, yeah. He painted the sky, didn't he? And I thought about it for a second. I said, well, yeah, he did. He painted the sky in big churches and things. And he said, I said, why? He said, I said, why, did you know him or something? And he said, yeah, I knew him. He was a good man. And that, of course, sparked my interest even more. And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about that, Joshy. What do you mean? And he goes, Dad, that was a long time ago. And that was pretty much the end of that conversation.
There's always been some, quote, indigo children on the planet. Always, since the beginning of time. It's just that what's happening now is that there's masses of children being born who are, in fact, enlightened.
The last time the indigos were incarnate on the planet in the numbers they are now was probably in the 12th, 13th centuries. And they were known at that time as the Gnostics, as the Cathars, as the Bogomils, the heterodox Christians. In other words, the heretics.
Some early examples are Joan of Arc and also Bernadette Soubirous, also known as Saint Bernadette. These were strong-willed, very tuned-in young people who changed the world.
Here you have, on the one hand, these kids that are incredibly gifted. Some were remembering their lives before they were even born, before they were even in utero. There were so many stories I was hearing of one child who actually told her mummy that before she was born, before she was even in her mummy's tummy, she used to watch her mummy. And she actually described several things that her mother had done, so that her mother knew that she was telling the truth, because how could the child know? And she was waiting for the moment to come in, and she said, I chose you. I chose to come into your tummy.
My kids and I were making Valentines for their classroom, and my Leia was sitting on my lap, and my two oldest children were at the kitchen table with us, and my Leia was just looking up into my eyes. And then all of a sudden she noticed her reflection, and she says, wow, Mama, I can see myself in your eyes. And I said, yes, honey, I can see myself in your eyes. I said, isn't that beautiful? We can see ourselves in each other. And she smiled. She said, yes, just like I was Grandma Marlene. And I then said, well, tell me a little bit about that. And she said, well, my body got very sick. I was very, very sick. And she said, and the doctors tried to help me, but my body was way too sick. So she said, my body died. And she said, and then my body got colder and colder and colder. And when she said this, there was such an intensity to which she said it. And her body, my mother's body, was put on ice for 3 days. So then my Leia says, and then the two men came to the house, which two men did. And she said, and they put my body into a box, which they indeed did. And then they took my body to a place that had a big oven. And she said, and my body was burnt. And she said, and my spirit went up with the angels. She said, but I wasn't an angel. I just was with the angels watching you guys, watching all of you. She said, and then I was a baby, and now I'm my Leia. She seems to be overcome by the clarity of her experience. She then says, I'm scared. And I just know intuitively that I need to sing this song, although it's not something I commonly sing to my kids. I started singing He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. And Angelina also joined me, and within a few words of the song, my Leia then grabs my cheeks fiercely and looks me right in the eyes and says, that was the song. And when she said that, I had instant memory of the song that my mother actually wrote into her will to be sung on the boat when we were pouring her ashes into the Atlantic Ocean. She wanted all her family members, all ages, all different belief systems, to all have absolute knowing, as she did, that regardless of the outcome of her physical healing, whether she had it or not, that her soul was infinitely in God's hands, and she trusted in that impeccably. And when I sang that song to her, she smiled because that truly gave her comfort in that moment. That was the song that was her keynote to remind her of her soul being in God's hands.
He's got you, my Leia. In his hand, he's got you, my Leia. In his hand, he's got you, my Leia. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands.
There are some indigos who are streaming into the planet to bring the sword, of will, the sword of power, to cut through the old paradigm and slice through the illusion. There are some who are bringing in the gentle compassion. There are some who are bringing in the new language of light and sound. So that's where the music comes in. That's where the heart communications come in. And if we can quiet our minds enough, we find that clear communication can come through on a heart level. So myself and many others, I feel, are here to bring the new language, and we just need the new ears to hear.
I'm grateful, because to walk the path of light isn't easy, but now I see it so clearly. You came into my life, and now I know that you always been there. Now I just want to say that I love you. Yes, I love you.
I came from kind of a dysfunctional family. My parents got divorced when I was 5 years old. So right away it was clear to me that the outside world was not a place I could find stability in or comfort in, even at times. So what that forced me to do in a way was go within myself and find that within myself, and that was my personal path. We just need to be able to hold a space when these kids are telling us, oh, I'm seeing angels at night, or I'm seeing this, or this is happening. And my parents told me, oh, that's just a dream, your imagination's running wild, and I get all those things would be batted down, and instead of being supported. So in a way, I shut down in a way from being able to express that.
I pour my energy into this cup for you. Drink it up. I sing my melodies.
In fact, I just like to ask, has everyone here heard of indigo children and have an idea in your own minds of what that means, basically?
Yeah, I read a little bit about it, and what I observed in my own little one is being very sensitive, more than normal. Children are sensitive, but there's an extra edge to it. The memory of past lives bleeds through more readily, and she doesn't always know what to do with it, but it's just below the surface. A knowingness, as all children do, of what's authentic and what's not, but they seem to be more impatient with that which is not authentic, which sometimes leads them into to clashes. And helping a master awaken type of role rather than trying to fill an empty brain. Education.
We have to have receptivity for it first. We have to have a receiver, like a radio, like a crystal receiver inside of ourselves. And that comes with doing the work and clearing out the darkness and the old patterns of doubt, and fear and all the patterns that we've been installed with. Once we get our receiver uncovered, though, we can tune that dial in to the indigo vibration. And it's a very incredible process, and to see this happening all over the planet, in these little pockets, but more and more it's becoming a web.
We are the ones we've been waiting for. We're everything that you need, yeah. It's time to walk through a golden door. Inside your heart is the key.
Why are indigos here? Indigos are here to bridge heaven and earth.
Indigo children have access to human experience at a larger level, at a greater depth than most people do. They access the data in a different way, the incoming data of life. And they access data that some people don't have access to at all. And so sometimes indigo children are mistaken or misunderstood to be children with attention deficit disorder or children with some sort of deficit of some kind or another. And in fact, it isn't that they have a deficit, but they have a supplement. They have more, not less.
If we have our indigo children mask their spiritual gifts with substances like Ritalin or fast food that's being sold on school campuses for lunch, then we are literally shackling these children. We're putting them into chemical straitjackets.
When you're trying to put them in a curriculum in a school system where they have to learn a little bit about everything kind of in a spiral as they're growing, that doesn't work for them because they want to take a subject, grab onto it, sink their teeth in, and go until they've gotten to a point where they're finished with that subject. Then they come back and grab another one.
A lot of these kids really need to be in private school or home tutored. So unfortunately, when you're in groups of 20, 30, 40 kids, you have to behave. You have to be able to sit there for an hour, 45 minutes, 55 minutes. And for many of them, that's just asking too much.
In my life, I've been diagnosed bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenic, psychotic. But I had one doctor who, after I had my, quote, breakdown, tried to jump off some buildings and whatnot, he said to me, Miss Kirkland, they're going to probably tell you never to be an actress again, that you're too emotional, you're too this, you're too that. He said, don't listen to them. He said, in Asia, in my country, you would be considered an artist, but in your country, you're labeled. You're, because you're too creative, you're too artistic, you're considered crazy.
These kids are being, if you want to say it, sort of tripped into this hyperactivity. It's because they're getting junk food, they're getting, often they're precipitated by having mercury in their environment, mercury in fish, mercury from cogen plants. Some of the older ones have had it filled into their teeth. And then also there's the fact that the younger ones are getting it actually through vaccinations. A lot of these young children will be quite normal, and, well, what we call normal, until they're tripped into having vaccinations, repeated vaccinations throughout childhood with thimerosal, which is a mercury-based preservative.
I can't imagine any kind of artificial substance or pharmaceutical or drug that you could put into the body of a child that could substitute for or provide you with more profound or deeper impact than love, caring, compassion, and acceptance.
You know, a lot of indigos are labeled ADHD, which the medical community will tell you stands for attention deficit with hyperactivity disorder. But I think that ADHD stands for attention dialed into a higher dimension.
What we're going to talk about today is an osteopathic approach to children with ADD, ADHD, and autism. We're really going to talk about individual care a little bit and about the full spectrum of options. We have things all the way from, dealing with just drugging them and using Ritalin or Adderall or any of the other medications that are out there. We have the choices of doing absolutely nothing and using alternative medicine, whether it happens to be herbs or homeopathy. You have the full spectrum, and even osteopathic manipulative medicine, because it definitely makes a difference in these kids. So do we say that we have to be on one spectrum or the other, or do we have the benefit of being able to use a full spectrum of things that are available to us as what's appropriate for that individual child? Being different's not a bad thing. It's just different. And the key thing is finding people who understand you, who respect you, and allow you to be you, to be the individual that you are. That's the most important thing, and recognizing you may not always be the popular kid or the one that everybody gets along with, and that's okay. What is normal? That is one of those words where we use it so often. What is normal? And that's different from every physician you talk to, every parent you talk to, every individual you talk to. So we have a hard time when we say, well, this kid's not normal. Well, what is your classification of normal, right? So as we start to approach these children, the things that I'm finding universally are that they're often very, very bright. Have you guys seen the same thing? Absolutely. Right. Some of the smartest kids you've ever seen. Anyone who's gifted and talented and has a passion for the world and a passion for making everything a better place, what an amazing, amazing thing that we want to actually continue to help promote these kids in feeling that it's okay to feel maybe that they're special. I think everybody's special. And when you recognize that whatever their special thing is, to help them further it so that they have a chance to blossom and become the most amazing individual, most amazing human being that they can be, that benefits the entire world in a positive way, then fine, use the label indigo. Makes no difference to me. But recognize that every child needs to have that love and that compassion and that patience to help them really expand to be the most incredible human being they can be.
And the storm clouds are lifting from the footsteps of yesterday's dreams, and I know.
Since 1992, according to data taken from the CDC, from the school districts around the country sending in data, autism, the incidence of autism has risen 800%. And every year it's raising about an average of 20%. And that's in relation to just overall all other developmental disabilities are still at about 1 to 3%. Autism keeps increasing, and it's probably not going to get any less. So there's a reason they're coming here.
What we find in some of the younger, highly sensitive children is a difference in communication abilities. Many of them seem to communicate mind to mind, or what science calls telepathically, with their parents. And it doesn't seem like it causes a problem until later on in life when the parent feels embarrassed that in social situations the child's not speaking verbally, or at school, of course. And so the diagnosis that these young, highly sensitive children are receiving is autism, or in some cases Asperger's syndrome. And the autistic spectrum is very broad. It goes all the way from a child who doesn't enunciate clearly, all the way to a child who seems to be in their own little world. Hey.
Right now I sing this song. I just hope you can feel it doing you. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You wanna dance? Now's your chance. Get down, get down. Like James Brown, he's feeling the flow. I see his glow of God light burning bright in this moment.
My one son, Dar, who I've been working with the last couple of years and who's emerging very beautifully out of autism and beginning to talk, and it's really exciting. I'm so proud of him. And I'm not going to talk about him anymore. I'll cry. Tears of joy. But he has a lot of sounds he likes to make. So he might go, right? And so then I'll go, is that for mum? And and I'll go, mum. And then the next thing you know, it builds from to mom to you're singing a song.
Sounds like God to me. I like this guy.
We start to communicate in a silent way underneath this game. You start to connect. It's no different than if I connect with you and we do any kind of conversing or any kind of being together, like maybe driving in a car and we both see the same beautiful thing and we're connected. It's the same. I'm creating an opportunity to connect with my child, and then he in turn, does that for me.
With autistic kids, I know that there definitely been anecdotal comments about these kids having maybe more of a telepathic capability. That's why they're not as expressive. And I can't say that I've personally experienced it. I know that there are many people who told me about their experiences personally with these kids, but I can't speak on it personally. But again, you know, we talk about that extrasensory perception that, you know, we still don't use a significant portion of our brains. And you have to wonder whether something like that isn't possible.
I'm going to make a little confession here. Okay. So at this time, I was married, and I was a little fed up with my husband, I must say. I was standing there doing the dishes, and Dar's the only one not in school at the time, and he's over to the side, kind of, you know, doing his own thing. He does a lot of this, you know, you're kind of going like that, and looking into the world within. And I'm doing the dishes, and I'm imagining having an affair on my husband, because I met this guy that I thought was kind of cute. And I'm like thinking the thought, maybe I'll just have an affair. And as loud as can be, inside my head I hear, no. But the weird part was, it wasn't like, you know, when you think the thought no to yourself, or no, I'm not going to do that. It wasn't like that at all. Not only was it a voice, but it was a voice that I recognized as Dar's, which is believable because I'd heard him speak occasionally. So every once in a while, Dar would say something really out of his lips. Every once in a while, he'd go, I'll take that, or I'll do that. So I knew his voice when he would speak normally. And then he'd revert to these sounds and stuff. And so I heard this no in my head, and I look over at him, and he's looking at me, and he goes, no, 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 no. And he'd never done that. I was like, oh my gosh, this kid's reading my mind. He's listening to me think.
You know, if we see indigo children or the way they express themselves as a nuisance or a bother or something that's difficult to deal with, then we're going to treat it one way. If we see it as an enormous gift, an opportunity to gain insight into life itself through these children as a channel to access the information that we can't access by our own devices, we will treat it in an entirely different way.
The children look up to you, and you're definitely their role model, and just let the kid be a kid. I mean, if it gets out of control, yeah, but just be patient and let them be themselves.
Many indigos are in trouble right now because of their intuitive ability, that they're picking up things that other people don't pick up on, and if this is not acknowledged and accepted, they begin to self-medicate. Drugs, alcohol are ways that they use to self-medicate. So the parent must learn how to communicate and also make sure that they have taken enough training to know how to communicate well.
It's really okay as a parent to not know the answer. It's really okay to say, hey, I really love my kids, but you know, I wanted to have a different life. Or it's really okay to say, my child's pretty strange, and I don't know what to do with that. All of that's okay. But there has to be something afterwards if you want to be nurturing to your child. And I think then the next step is to say, I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
If there was one gift that a parent could give a child that would have lasting value and lifelong effect and impact, I think it would be the parent's presence. And by that I don't mean the number of hours or the number of days each week that you're there with your child, but that when you are there with your child, if it's only for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, you are completely, totally, and utterly present and open to the authentic experience of that moment.
If you don't start with you, you're just going to pass this problem down to your child. So you've got to find a way to get rid of all that out of you so that when you look at your child, you see gorgeous. You know, and there's lots of ways to do that. I mean, you can do it through books and meditation, but basically you have to say, every time I feel like my child is a problem, I have to go to me and say, why do I see that as a problem, and fix that.
That the soul of this child is wise and mature. Sometimes
even beyond yours. At the same time, this mature and wise soul, and very capable soul, is trying to incarnate into this child body mind. So don't forget that the child has to be raised and the great soul has to be respected.
Children have an answer. Together we will stand. Like a mother we are held by the one. Like a mother we are held by the one.
When I had Alexa and Natalie, and they were extremely, different than other kids, I, as a parent, listened to my gut, and so I channeled their talent from a very young age and got them performing and doing what they love, like their music has always been their life. They could handle a million things. They could get really good grades, and they could perform all the time and write music and do instruments and be on dance teams.
Wake up, What are you doing? What are you living for if you're not following your dreams? You have people that love to paint, but they decide to be a car wash person. You know what I mean? I think it's really about, if you are true to yourself, then you can be true to other people, and you can really live your gift, and that way there's more harmony on earth and everything's more in sync.
Really, music is what I want to do, but it's like what my sister said, I'm living two different lives. I kind of hide myself when I'm here in Utah because what can I do? I play music at home and I do that stuff, but when I go to school, it's just kind of, okay, back to the other half of Natalie.
Nay, nay, nay. You'll almost think A to E. Nay, 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 because you go nay, nay, nay. It pulls out and gets too yelly. And that's what your brain wants to do, but don't let it do that. So nay, nay, nay. So it still sounds like nay, but you're thinking kind of E, because that keeps it small enough that it keeps you going there, and you get that split thing that you're feeling. Nay, nay again.
My definition is someone who comes to the world with a knowing, with a gift, and they have a purpose to help the world in any way. And mine and Alexa's is music.
You wanna know me? You gotta know that magic is real. You wanna feel me? You gotta feel your heart and let yourself be healed. I just wanna share what's calling through right now. And we're gonna sing it to the world somehow. Here to go with something that's inside yourself. The crystal child will be born through the belly of man. Here to go with something that we all can.
Well, I know it's music. Alexa and I, we put our feelings into music, and we relate to music so much, and it's what we do 24/7, and it's just, we know that, it's just something we know.
Other than singing, Natalie and I do dancing, acting, gymnastics. We used to play soccer, and, we've done almost everything you can think of. And I think it's good for us because it's let us, branch out, not just always do singing. And that way we learned that's why we love singing, is because we've done all the things, we've tried everything pretty much, and singing's our favorite thing. And so I think it's good.
And we're gonna sing it to the world somehow. Here to go with something that's inside yourself. The crystal child will be born through the belly of man. Here to go with something that we all can be. And we are here to bring this world into unity.
Comparing to my sister, I'm not as serious, and she puts all her time and effort into music when I'm more separated. I love music, and that's what I do, but I like to be happy, and she's kind of just more serious and kind of the older soul.
My advice to people who are kind of like Natalie and I would be to not deny who you are, to not try to pretend that you're regular, you know, because you're not. And every day you're going to remind yourself that by feeling the same, not fitting in and stuff. The reason why I wrote this song, Live Like It's Your Last Day, is to, like, I sing it every day. It's like to kind of keep reminding myself that, you know, if today was my last day, would I want to spend it being negative and being down and hating myself? No, you know, you want to be fun and upbeat and do things you'd never do because you never know when it's going to be your last day. Breath and I love as if my heart won't break and dance as though by myself. Gotta do the beat. Today I don't care what you think, I am gonna live for me, and that won't ever change. Today could be my last day.
I mean, children are getting bombarded with just stuff that they don't even need to see or hear or feel. I mean, I think things are so upside down, at least in this country where we're at, with what we're teaching them. You know, you're going to go into a public school and teach somebody lies about a fictional character in history, and you're not going to teach them how to deal with crisis in their life mentally, or teach them how to eat correctly, organically, or teach them how to farm, or teach them about meditation and slowing down their heart rate in a struggle. What's up with school? I mean, you know.
Unfortunately, our country does not put in the amount of money into our school systems that needs to be there to really financially support all the educators and the school systems and, you know, all these phenomenal people trying their best, working in this system that's just failing.
My book, Be Here Now, is now the rage in high schools. So that's certainly some mark, you know. It tickles their consciousness.
What schools need to do is not concern themselves so much with memorization of data, but with pulling from the inside of the child the wisdom that resides there quite naturally.
According to the definition, and if we look at the definition of education coming from the Greek definition of edukos, it is the pulling forward of wisdom from within.
No child left behind. It's really scary to me because what it's doing is, instead of teaching them how to think, it's teaching them what to think. And we need to get back to what true teaching is.
We haven't evolved as a country in what we're teaching them. We haven't adapted to what it is, where they're at. And I think they're just way ahead. They're needing more. And it's here already. We have it. The people are here. It needs to be allowed to be taught. With all of your might, man, throw up your fists and run out on the front line. Fight for the children. No better time than now to build this energy. Expand the family through synergy chemistry. With all of your might, man, throw up your fists and run out on the front line. Fight for the children. No better time than now to build this energy. Expand the family through synergy chemistry.
The educational paradigm is shifting, and that there needs to be something for the children of today so that they can feel nurtured in a safe and sacred environment for them to be fully and completely who they are. We've developed a prototype for a new type of schooling system that's really an entertainment and an educational learning center within the community. And this is a place that is completely child-directed. We have all ages together, and basically it's really a iteration of the one-room schoolhouse in a hip, jazzed-up environment in a manner that allows us to keep authenticity to our vision.
True teaching is helping to bring out the gifts that each of these children have, and also having them recognize that there are gifts and not all gifts are the same.
HSP 법칙은 그 HSP 현상을 깊게 연구하다가 우리 뇌 안에는 우리가 선택하면 우리가 원하는 것을 만들 수 있는 하나의 메커니즘이 있다는 것을
HSP stands for a heightened sensory perception. And if we can increase our senses, our perceiving of our senses, we can make decisions that we're proud of, we can feel more confidence. And of course, that leads to a much healthier and more peaceful outlook. Dr. Lee really wanted to prove his theory that with some training, all children can develop their HSP potential. And so with an initial group of children, with a little bit of training, it was shown that prior to the training, they didn't have any extraordinary abilities. They hadn't used them yet. But with a little bit of training, they developed some really remarkable results. Some of the HSP testing and training that the students got a chance to participate with included being blindfolded and learning to recognize colors and shapes and even words. Other students had the opportunity to bend spoons and actually have spoons attached to their bodies just by using their brain power. Initially, these students couldn't do these tasks, but with the training in which they had so much fun, there was a lot of laughter and joy, the students developed a sense of I can do it spirit. And sure enough, at the end, more than 25% of students successfully could be blindfolded and to make out images and pictures and colors. 33% of students or more experienced success using the spoons.
그리고 더 놀라운 것은 그런 능력이 누구나 훈련시키면 할 수 있다는 뇌 속의 하나의 메커니즘을 발견했다는 것입니다. 그래서 그것을 어린아이들에게 이렇게 실현을 시켜본 결과
Later, another training was done in Ashland, Oregon, in the United States, which helped to confirm those original findings. And with a group of 44 American children, again with no special initial abilities or ideas, they were able to do some very remarkable things using their brain and using their choice.
Step one of saving the world begins in our daily lives. First thing to do is be happy. It's one of the most important things, and it's scientifically proven to be healthy, and it's contagious. So if you're happy and you're in a public area, and you get my meaning, don't you?
I would consider myself to be a peacemaker. I'd say that, you know, I've got a lot of ideas in my head about peace that I think sometimes I feel like are almost common sense to me, but might not be to, you know, the rest of the world. As far as our Western civilization goes, yeah, we have been thinking about ourselves and what we're doing right now. I know that the Native American tribes, way back when, were into, you know, whatever, this action affects the next 7 generations, and we need to watch, you know, what would happen if we do carry out this action. So they had it right. We just need to figure out what they're talking about now. If I could say one thing to the leaders of the world, it would be that we're all working towards one goal, which is peace. There's no people who are working against peace in the world, I believe.
Stand up for what you believe in.
Yes.
We all know what we need to do to save the world, really. We all have our own special calling. We know what the politicians need to do. And unfortunately, sometimes the politicians don't seem to know what we want them to do. That's because we're not getting it out there.
And I thought, wow, you know, I've always wanted to do something to save the world, but I couldn't think of anything to do up until that point, really. I couldn't think, you know, so what could I do? So I had the idea to write the pamphlet, which had led me to the idea that, wait a second, maybe other people have that problem. They want to do something good, they can't figure out what to do. In my booklet, I suggested trying to pick up 1 piece of trash a day. And if you think about that, there's plenty of trash in the world, but there's also 300-something million people in the U.S. alone. And imagine if we all picked up one piece of trash. You know, you think one bag, what difference does it make? 300 million bags makes a big difference. An indigo child is really hard to define because there's no really definite definition. But, like, you know, in a phrase, I think it would be, you know, somebody who has ideas about how they can make the world a better place. If they were to say, you know, oh, you're naive, you're a child, I'd say, exactly, I'm a child, which is why I'm not burdened with the sense of, you know, oh, well, the world's screwed. No, you know, the world's not screwed. We can turn it around. We just have to get some work on it. If each single person in the whole world thinks, oh, one person can't change it, nothing happens. If each person thinks, well, one person can't change the world, but one person can do a little bit, each person does a little bit, it adds up, and we've got the golden age again.
Indigos in the native community is very much a phenomenon, but because of the history of what the white people have done with special Native American children, generally what happened was that if a Native American child was deemed as being special, that child was then taken away from the parents and then put in white schools. So there are definitely indigos among the Native Americans.
The children of our culture as well as other children in the world are very important to us because I see a lot of the children that are very smart, and the children are wanting attention, they want to learn, and the children all over the world are teaching our generation and the generation before me the importance of why they are here, and we need to listen to the children.
If we don't begin to heal, there is not going to be no future for our children. It is something that has been foretold to us by our ancestors, our elders, that if we don't wake up and start to work among ourselves in a harmonious way, that our life as Hopi will cease to exist. And therefore our philosophy that what we do here on Hopi for all mankind, for all human beings, for all living things will cease to exist also. But it's all of us, not only as parents, but people throughout the world coming together, unifying and bonding together will make us become balanced again.
We are all human, and we are all very important, especially to Mother Earth. Masao is our creator, and that's who we have to respect. And if we don't, it will turn around and probably discipline us. And the reason why I say that, you look at all these hurricanes, earthquakes, especially in the United States. Again, my grandfather told me that if we misuse our Mother Earth, if we get greedy using Mother Earth, then our Creator will come back to try to remind us to not be greedy of our land, water, whatever it may be.
You know, in our Hopi culture, prophecy says that we're going to live in what they call Koyaniskati, and that means a crazy world or craziness.
And right now the world is so out of balance that it is very hard as a parent myself to try to instill that within my kids, because right here on Hopi, we're so out of balance ourselves. It's a sickness that we need to wake up from.
I know that people say that when you're trying to teach kids, "Baby," they say that statement that means, "Oh well," but we can't say "oh well," because there is still hope. We can change it. We have to change it as a people, as a whole. The people need to come back to how we are supposed to be as Hopis, and that's what I see. And I know that the kids really do want that. They really do want to know who they are as Hopi kids.
When we're guiding them to be the leaders of tomorrow, we need to give them the truth. We cannot make stories about what their life should be, but give them everything. Give them the truth. The prophecies tell us that we need to look at our children because they will be the future leaders of our groups, our tribes, our communities, and we need to gear them up so that we need to guide them through their younger lives, give them the best advice we can give them, so that they, in turn, when it's their time, can be our leaders in the future.
It can be done, and we must work towards that goal.
The children that are coming in today seem to have more software already downloaded into their systems. They are an evolutionary leap. They are showing us where we are going as a species. And I believe that these children come in with more neural pathways connected, more abilities that we all have, but we've lost over the centuries.
Are we seeing evolution happening? I don't know. But if you have any belief in natural history and the Darwin phenomenon, then you have to say that evolution has to happen. It does happen. We're just so used to it happening so slowly that we don't get to really recognize it.
Those of us that made a big investment in the culture and tried to shift consciousness. We want the children to be that way. Because otherwise our actions aren't justified.
We are in the midst of an unprecedented, huge transformation in human consciousness. And this transformation in human consciousness is reshaping the human experience. It is reshaping it for millions of individuals, and within, in my opinion, just a few generations, it will have reshaped the entirety of the human experience. And so it is creating children who are being born with this new expanded perception, and it is expanding the perception of those of us who are already walking upon this earth.
We're watching humans evolve. Just like we've evolved to now having opposable thumbs, we're witnessing the human species evolve into becoming a telepathic creature.
Then we can call it in any name we really want to. But it's a phenomenon that is real, it is happening, and I really believe that is because technology and science are changing very fast.
この世の中で一番大事なものというものは方程式でも何でもない方程式でも何て言うんだろうな難しいそういう説理でも何でもないんだということです。結果的にその一人一人のしかも集合的な市民の、心意識というものが反映されてそれが全ての生命現象を救っているんだよという。
We are pioneers of a new humanity. That doesn't mean that we're better or that we ever will be better. It's impossible to be better. From the perception of the universe, you cannot be less valuable than anyone else or anything else, and you cannot be more valuable. All is precious.
They are our future, and they're here to simply help usher in a new golden age, where love will triumph over fear, and awareness will triumph over ignorance.
Walking through the poppy universe, my fingers rattle the hourglass aisles. As the time sings in the crossroad of hope, I'm a brush painting for miles. Every letter of the names I sit on just hangs on the family space tree. Which knowledge lock should I pick as Providence chisels a galaxy key? Balancing myself on just one finger, at first I thought that everything was white. From universe to universe, I jump alone just to find out I'm still a child.
The greater event is not the appearance of indigo children, but the birth of an indigo world.
My message as an indigo, as a human being, as a child of God, was probably said most succinctly by Bill and Ted in their excellent adventure, and that is, be excellent to each other.